We are live. I'll just wait a few minutes, just 1 minute, and then we can get started. Just 1 minute. It's noon here. It's 12 o'clock in Mauritius, and I believe it's 10 a.m. in Botswana. So we are going to get started with our session. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon from Mauritius. Please tell us where you are joining us from. And before we get started with the session, do confirm if you can see both of us. Can you see me? Can you see Ndiye? And also, can you hear us? Is the sound audible? I know there's some background noise because there's construction happening next door, but I would be grateful if you can confirm if I'm audible and if you can see both of us before we proceed with the session. And thank you so much for joining this session. I will just wait for your confirmation. I think we have lost Ndiye. Let me check what is going on because it seems like we lost him. Let me quickly check. Just a minute. He's back. He is back and he's trying to reconnect. I think he has challenges with his internet. So let's give him a minute or so to rejoin the session. Yes, he's back. Welcome back, Ndiye. Are you okay? Can we go ahead? It seems like he's having network problems. Let me send him a message. Let me check him on WhatsApp and see what the challenge is. In the meantime, tell us where you are joining from while we wait for Ndiye to reconnect. Apologies for that. It seems like he's having internet connectivity issues. Thank you for the confirmation. Now we are waiting for Ndiye to join back the session. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so you're okay now. It's okay. We lost you there. So we can get started. Can I
Yes,
start?
I think it's okay. I think, but my
Okay.
network is fine. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna start the session. Thank you so
Yes,
much
please.
for Thank you so much for joining. Today we have my homeboy, a good friend of mine. I've known him for many years now, and I've personally been inspired by his academic journey. He did his PhD in Czech Republic and then postdoc in Germany, where he is currently based, but currently he is in Botswana for holidays. So I thought I should invite him so that he can share his journey with you, his experience of living in Europe, because he has lived in 2 European countries. He has studied in 2 European countries. So that's quite an experience that I felt would be beneficial to you if maybe you also wish or you plan to study in Europe. He's well vested with PhD applications, so the session will mostly focus on PhD applications. But if you are applying for a master's program, don't get discouraged. Don't leave the session yet. He will also touch on master's programs. If you do have some questions related to master's applications, please feel free to ask the questions. If he has an answer, I'm sure he will give you an answer that will help you with your applications. So I am going to start with the first question. I'm not sure if he's still with us. It seems we have lost him again. My apologies for that. Please bear with us. My sincere apologies. Let me check again on WhatsApp if he's able to rejoin the session. Apologies for that. Sorry for the inconvenience. He's back.
Hello, BK, can you hear me? I'm totally confused
Yes,
as to
yes.
why
I can hear you and I
the
can see you.
link is not working as it should.
I can see you and I can hear you.
But can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you. Can you hear me and can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can also see you, but I don't know
Okay.
if my face is clear enough for the
Uh,
audience.
I think what's more important is the audio, the sound, if they can hear you clearly. With the face, I guess it will get clearer as your connection becomes better. I
Yeah,
guess
let's see how
yeah.
that works.
Okay, I guess we can start with the first question, where you tell us about your background and what motivated you to pursue your higher education in Europe.
Thank you so much once again, BK. I appreciate this opportunity and this time to be sharing my experience as well as my background and who I am. They call me Ndiye Kebonye. Some call me Dr. Ndiye Kebonye, but it depends on what you want to call me. You can call me whoever you want. So basically, I'm an agricultural specialist. I studied in the Czech Republic. I did my PhD there. And my interests are mainly in precision agriculture, they're mainly in environmental modeling, where I apply different AI techniques, machine learning approaches to be able to assess environmental changes, environmental processes that we tend to incur. And I'm very much interested in the environment, so to say, and this is quite what I'm quite keen to study and to pursue in the long run. So that is just me in a nutshell.
Okay, okay. So what
And
motivated you
with
to
regards
pursue
to
your
motivation, why I
yeah.
was interested in pursuing,
Yes, please go ahead.
um, this will sound a bit funny, but it's quite true. I would say that the academic platform or the academic stance, I'll say that the academic stance in Europe is quite rigor. If I'm to compare it with other continents, I would say that having done a PhD now in Europe, most of the things that you tend to be involved in there, you do them alone. And this is why I decided to actually move to Europe to pursue my academics there, because I found it quite interesting that doing a PhD there, you tend to work alone most of the time and have relatively minimal supervision, which most students in other places tend not to have. And this is something that I was really quite keen to do because I'm an independent person by nature. So I found it really pleasant to take up this kind of role where I'm actually studying most of the time on my own. So that is what pursued me to actually endeavor in studying higher education in Europe.
Okay. I think I'm also an independent person. I prefer working alone, working independently. And I think that is one of the things I love about PhD. Although PhD is challenging, but I do love the independence that comes with it. You don't have anyone chasing you around or anyone who is constantly micromanaging you. So you work at your own pace. You work within your own timeline. So that is also something that I appreciate about the PhD here in Mauritius. So what was the biggest cultural or academic shift that you experienced from Botswana to Europe? Having studied and lived in Botswana, and then you shift to European countries, what was the difference there?
Um, I'll draw it back to my previous answer. Mostly European people they don't talk much. So most of the time you realize or find out that you are mostly usually on your own. And you tend to get little insights from maybe your professor, who tends to give you minimal insights on what to do. And he expects that most of the time you will be looking for information that has to back up what you need to do and improve what you have to do. And from a cultural shift, I would say that uh, moving to Europe or to Czech Republic was more like moving to a society where people are mostly reserved and mostly quiet. And now I had to learn a situation whereby I'm now learning how to become quiet more and working more, because it's more of being quiet and giving us the output that we need to see, rather than talking a lot and producing relatively
Producing
less
nothing.
work. So yeah, so that's mainly what I was a cultural shift for me. But all in all, coming from a place where we kind of have to 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 engage more with people, where we can talk freely with people, it was more of learning a new way of doing things, where sometimes you just need to be quiet and get the results out there, where people can actually be able to see what you have been doing in your quiet time. And this is something that I really comment about the system in Europe.
I'm just curious about the quietness that you spoke about. That a lot
Mhm.
of people here seems to be reserved and more quiet. Doesn't that bring loneliness when were you not lonely, considering how people keep to themselves?
Not really. I would say that when you get there, you are not the only person coming from an international country. So you tend to have a wide community of people who are also surrounding you, who tend to experience the same kind of feeling. So you
Mm-hmm.
tend to have to meet these people where you kind of discuss and also share time together, probably time visiting different places around Europe and also exploring different places which you would have initially not known. And also, it's not that the quietness doesn't allow you to actually engage with people in Europe. Most of them are friendly. It's just that they grew up in a more reserved space, where you tend to want to approach them first and show interest, and they can openly then engage with you, and you have a pleasant time there while you're there. So it's a more kind of a 50-50 thing, where if you approach them quietly, and or let's say maybe you are also quiet and you find that they are also quiet, you may find that both of you don't now talk. But if you come to a place whereby you say, you know what, I'm going to step out and just talk to people, engage with people, you tend to realize that now people are open. Even if they are quiet, they're actually open, so you can then engage with them and have a very pleasant time while you are there. So that's what I can say about this.
Oh, so the quietness is not scary. It's not a scary quietness.
No, it is not at all. No.
Okay, okay, okay. I know you touched a bit about your what you focus on. You spoke about your environment, that you like working with the environment. Would you like to expand more on your PhD research? Perhaps there's someone who might have an interest in your similar field.
So basically, my PhD research was on environmental monitoring, to be specific, whereby I looked at potentially toxic elements. These are elements that may potentially be released from mines or other sources such as machinery use and so forth. So I was particularly emphasizing on how these pollutants move about from different locations to eventually reach what we call hotspots, or areas of interest where maybe the levels are higher than the normal background levels. And with this, we then use AI derived models to be able to estimate how much the distribution of these kind of pollutants are, and eventually develop maps that can be used to help policy or environmental scientists to be able now to provide solutions to these kind of regions whereby the hotspots may be. And basically, this is what I was focusing on, and to kind of bring science to the people and particularly the people who are relevant to the environment, who can actually bring forth the solutions and the policies that are relevant to tackle situations that are actually in the ground. So we actually try to merge academia with policy or application based solutions. So that was briefly what I was working on, and the environmental focus was actually the main emphasis because Europe is a highly advanced society whereby every solution that comes from science is actually taken up, and people tend to bring emphasis and try to bring forth solutions that can help them to solve the problems that they are facing in the society. So that was basically what I was dealing with, and yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that. And also, that reminds me, I've seen quite a number of your publications, the publications that you shared that related to your PhD and your postdoc. How was the publication process? Is it challenging? Is it easy? Can you briefly share on that?
Um, Having gone through a lot of work, reviewer, scientist related work whereby you publish, it's not an easy task, I would say. It's highly demanding because just from the preparation of the manuscript to eventually getting it published, it's a whole process that can be daunting at times. But in all this, I would say that we need patience. We need patience for everything. We need patience to just to wake up and prepare our beds in the morning. And publication is also the same. You prepare manuscript from the beginning. The first person you encounter with regards to your manuscript will be your supervisor or your immediate boss, who tends to trash your work and comment on it a lot. And sometimes this may be painful for most students or painful for most researchers, because normally we are people who don't like feedback somehow, but feedback is good for us to improve, or let alone to get our work to a certain stage which it was not initially in. And publication is the same thing, because then you face reviewers who may favor your work, some may not favor your work at all. But then the question is that what do you do after somebody not favoring your work? You tend to want to respond maybe in a negative way, but having done this several times now, I would say that you just need to sit down and reflect. Why is the person responding the way they are responding towards my work? And what should I improve based on what they have given me as feedback? And if these things are taken up, I'll say that you can be able to resolve any other thing with regards to manuscript writing and eventually publication. So in essence, I would say that it's a 50-50 kind of thing, whereby you need to just put in the patience that is involved and be able to just take up the challenge and resolve it unto results, because at the end of the day you want to see a publication out there and for people to be reading it. And for you to be able to achieve this, you need to actually put in the work, you need to put in the time, you need to also take up the feedback that you get from different audiences to be able to get something that is meaningful to the world. So that is what I can say about the whole manuscript writing process. And yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to what you said earlier, that it's difficult to receive feedback. It's very difficult to get feedback on your work. That is something that I struggled with when I was starting my PhD. The first manuscript, the first draft that I submitted to my supervisors and I got feedback from them, I think it took me about 2 weeks to just process the comments. I took the comments personally as an attack on my abilities, as an attack on my credibility. But then, as I progressed throughout my PhD, then I realized that feedback is just part of the process, and it also helps you grow and improve your work. And I realized that supervisor feedback is not as brutal as feedback from reviewers, from journal reviewers, especially reviewer two. They are more brutal than the supervisor. So That is something you learn along the way. Don't be afraid to receive feedback. Just take it as something that can help to improve your work.
Of course.
I saw a comment here. I think we'll get back to it. There's a question I asked him about master's programs. Thank you for that. We will get back to that question, okay? Just stay with us. We'll address
Yes,
masters.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So why did you choose Czech Republic for your PhD? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Czech Republic. Let me just reflect on what happened then. I
Okay.
remember at that same time I had 2 offers from Czech Republic, and also I
Let me check him again. Okay, it seems like he's back.
sorry
Yeah,
for
you're
the
back.
cut.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Should I continue?
Yeah. We just
Yes,
continue where we left off. Yeah.
thank you so much.
And thank you to our audience for your patience.
So I
I
had
appreciate
actually
that.
2 offers from the Czech Republic.
Okay.
I had 2 offers from the Czech Republic during that time, and I think one from Germany, from a potential supervisor in Germany. So, why the interest in Czech Republic was mostly for me to explore, because I had heard about Czech Republic. I had friends who were studying medicine in Czech Republic. So I decided, you know what? I think Czech Republic is the place for me to be at that very time, because I had people that I can go back to and say, you know what, how was your experience in Czech Republic, having been there studying medicine for some time? And these were some of my former classmates back when I was in secondary school. So I thought that it would be a very good opportunity for me to actually go to Czech Republic at that point in time. I don't have anything special about Czech Republic, but at the end of the day, I eventually liked the place, because it's a place even today which is very close to my heart, because of just the experience that I had there, and having overcome challenges that I might have incurred when I was in Czech Republic, the opportunities that I got when I was there, and eventually me being where I am today. So it's
Okay.
mainly that I had friends who I already knew there, who also performed very well while they were there, and they were really commending the education sector there to be very good and very well versed. So I decided to go there as well.
Oh, okay. When we had a chat, you told me that you got funding through a process or a professor, which I found interesting because I think a lot of applicants, especially PhD applicants, focus more on scholarships and forget, or they are not aware that there is the professor route, that you can apply for a PhD and get funding through a professor. Could you please take us through that process and how it works?
Um, First of all, I'll say that it's not the easiest process to begin with,
Mhm.
because it involves your time. It involves you to just be engaged, get online, go through the professors whom have the same interest as you. For instance, in my case, I would say that I had interest in environmental related studies. I wanted to do anything environment at that time. I wasn't quite sure what I really wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do something related to environment. So I went through different professors, some in the US, some in Europe, some in Australia, just to see different interests that the professors were working on. And I decided to start writing professors in different places across the world. If I remember very well, I wrote more than 200 emails to different professors all around the world. I was writing emails left, right, center. And throughout these emails, I made sure that I had my CV in check. I had my interests already stated in my CV, who I am, what I'm capable of doing, and what I'm willing to offer to the professors' labs who I'm writing to. And lo and behold, I wrote to Czech Republic. I didn't know the place very well. I just knew that there was a place called Czech Republic. I wrote to two professors, one in environmental chemistry, one also in soil science. And I forgot. I even forgot that I wrote to so many professors that eventually I just forgot. But one time I was just at home, just sitting there, and I remember seeing an email from a very interesting name. I was like, okay, who is this writing me an email all of a sudden? So when I went through the email, I noticed that, it's a professor who I wrote to one of the times. And lo and behold, it was a professor in Czech Republic. And he politely asked me whether I was still interested in doing a PhD under him. And of course, at that time, I was really ready to go to school. So I just immediately said, yes, I'm ready to do a chat or to do an online meeting where you'd want to know about me and so forth. So we had a meeting where he actually invited me for a short interview where he was asking me about myself, who I am, and why I decided to write to him, which is also part of what you'd actually have in an email that you initially write to a professor. You initially just identify who they are, what their research interests are, whether they align to your research interests. This is very important because you do not want to write to a professor and actually write something that you're not really interested in. It would be as if you're wasting their time, even your own time. So I made sure that his research interests were actually aligning to what I would want to do. And in so doing, he was really keen because I mentioned everything that I'm capable of doing at that time, the approaches that I'm able to implement in if I was to get a PhD opportunity under him. And he made sure that he asked me directly what I actually wrote to him, whether I can be able to answer it in a convincing manner, of which I did. And of course, he invited me for an interview, and lo and behold, he gave me an offer 2 days after the interview. And that is how I eventually got to the Czech Republic. So mainly, I would say in a nutshell, you first identify a professor of interest, write a simple email to him, attach your certificates, your transcripts, attach everything that relates to you and what can make you stand out, so to say, because most of these professors actually have funding opportunities under them because they are regularly applying for several grants, which are not the conventional scholarship route, but they tend to have funds that they apply for from different bodies. Some may be applying for funding from the World Health Organization, funding from the FAO, and so forth. Some fundings from different institutions there in Europe, such as the DFG for Germany, funding opportunities such as the Czech Foundation of Academic Foundation, something like that, where they actually apply for funds that are released by the government to fund their own research projects. And these may be long-term research projects, maybe for lasting for 10 years. And then in this manner, they are always looking for students either at a master's level or at a PhD level. And some of these positions may not be directly advertised. So if you do have an opportunity to do this, you can directly contact a professor. You may not know, maybe at that particular time they have funding for PhD and master students for them to enroll. So This is what I actually did to eventually get a PhD position, fully funded to study in the Czech Republic. And that is how I eventually found myself in Czech Republic with full funding from a professor, where I was able to account for my housing, account for my living expenses while I'm there.
Okay, okay. Just a couple of things to follow up on. You said you sent 200 emails. So that tells me that this is not a simple process. You don't just, as an applicant, you don't just send 2 emails and then you give up, you give up. You have to send as multiple, you have to send as many emails as possible, right? And then you also mentioned that they should send a
Yes.
CV and certificate. Should they prepare a research proposal when they are contacting the professor, or only the CV is important?
I think at the beginning of the talk, you want to just introduce yourself to the professor, just to make yourself known. Sometimes they may not actually need a proposal from you because they would have already prepared a proposal themselves, where they already have a synopsis of the project that they will be working on and the project that they intend to work on. So by so doing, they are only looking for a student who can actually fit in well in that research endeavor. And so to say, you tend to have funding already ready for you. You tend to have already lab work prepared for you. You tend to have the people you'll be collaborating with already set out for you. So they actually want to know who can actually execute the task they want done perfectly and done to the best of their abilities. And they are just in the business of looking for a student who can actually do that. However, some may also require you to also write what they call a concept note, where you actually write a small concept regarding the proposal that they already have, to see whether you are really keen, or is it just a flair where somebody's actually looking to get opportunity, but they're not really ready to do anything.
To take up
It's always
to
happening
take
all the
up.
time with students. They are looking for funding opportunities to actually fund their own lifestyles, but in actual fact, they are not really ready to take up
To do the
a
research,
master's
to
or a
do the.
PhD position
Okay,
themselves. Yeah.
okay. Um, just on that, did I forget something? So what was your approach in identifying professors or universities for the professors that you sent emails to? Did you just go randomly and just send emails? What was your approach to that?
I'll give two approaches that tend to work. The first one is just gut feeling. You look at a professor's photo, you just look at the photo and you're like, okay, I think from the smile that they're giving me, it may work, it may not work. The smile that they're
Yeah,
presenting shows that this person is somebody I can probably work with, just
work
from
with,
the
yeah.
first view of a photo. And this may work, it may not also work. The other best opportunity or best solution to this may be to actually contact some of the people working directly under this professor. Just ask them about the background of the lab, ask them about the research interests, because students out there are always willing to share what they are doing. You can reach out to them maybe via LinkedIn, and most of them are always willing to just share some few insights about their lab, what they do, just reaching out in a normal way to a student who is there. And you get some feedback, at least basically about the lab and the nature of the lab, the culture of the lab, and just some few insights about the lab. And from these, you can actually draw down and say, this is a lab that I would really want to be in. The other thing may be to also check out for the alumni of the same lab that you are tackling, or the same lab that you are seeking to write a professor an email to. So you can actually first write to the alumni of such kind of labs. They're always there around. You can just write to them and try to get some feedback from these people. They are always open to share some insights and their experiences regarding the lab that they were actually from. And you then get some feedback from them, which you can then use to actually write to the professor of interest. So this is something that one can look up to and actually decide on whether you're going to look at the face of the professor and apply, or you're going to first look for some of the alumni or look for some of the people already working in the lab, just to have a small chat with them and see how things move or how things progress. Then this kind of helps you a lot.
I did the photo thing when I was identifying my supervisors. I went through my potential university and website, and then I checked all the professors there. Then I saw two young professors. I was like, I like these ones. I would like to work with these ones. And they looked young and full of energy and friendly. And it turned out that it was exactly, they turned out exactly how they were when I saw them on the picture. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And of course, it not just the picture, you should also look at their interest, their research interest. You might like the picture, you might like the person, but they might not be aligned with your research interest. So you can use the picture thing and also check their interest, or you can ask, like he said, you can check and ask other students who have worked with that particular professor before. It's quiet in the comments. I don't know if they are listening. Usually when they are quiet, it means they are listening, or you are sharing something very interesting that they are still processing. I hope as we progress, there will be questions. Please, if you have a question, let us know in the comment section. Even if it's not a question, just a comment to let us know that you are here, you are listening, you hear us, you understand what he's sharing. Remember that he's Dr. Ndiye. I call him Ndiye because he's a friend, but remember that he's Dr. Ndiye. Right now he's doing postdoc, so he has inside information about the application process. I've seen him, I've not seen him in person, but I've seen some of the pictures or the photos that he shares. I've seen him in rooms where there were PhD examinations, PhD Viva. So he has a lot of extensive information. This is your opportunity to ask questions, because you will not come back to the video and ask questions. I will not have the answers. I will not be able to respond to your questions after the session. I am also here to learn from him. Maybe I'll do a postdoc in Europe. So as much as I've invited him as a friend, I've also invited him for me to learn from him. So this is your chance to ask questions. I know that applicants never ask questions, and then after the session has ended, then you start asking the questions when the guest has gone. Unfortunately, I will not have answers for you. There is someone from Botswana. Okay, welcome. Thank you. I would like to know about master's scholarships. Okay, we'll get into that. There's a question about master's. I'm going to move to the next question. I think we are losing him again. He's gone. I need to check him on WhatsApp again. Sorry for that. It seems like he has had internet connection problems throughout the session. Welcome back. I think since we have a lot of questions about masters, I'm gonna Skip, I will come back to these questions. Let me go to the master's one so that maybe we can help our master's audience. Is that okay? Hello?
Hello, BK. I'm here.
Yes, I was saying I jumped to the master's question since we have a lot of interest on that. Would you like to share or touch on master's programs?
Okay, so for those, the question is for the, okay, what are the key differences in the application process compared to other countries? I would say for master's programs, is this bit okay? Okay. Is the question? The question is that are they find new opportunities for master's programs? Yeah.
Yes,
And
and
is
is
the
the
program
program
offered in
offered in
English
English?
language? There are master's opportunities actually. I think through the DAAD funding scholarship, they tend to be master's programs there, and specifically for the DAAD, they are courses that are specifically I'll say courses that are specifically in English and courses that are specifically in German language. So for courses that are in German language, one actually initially learns the language while on arrival before they actually kickstart with the study. So this may actually be something like a year or some as a year of several months of learning the language. And specifically for those that are in masters in English, you don't need to actually learn any language. You actually are taught in English because these courses are actually directly taught in English. So one needs to first identify these courses from the DAAD scholarship. Usually they have a list of courses where they mention which ones are in German language, which ones are in English language. So you first need to identify these kind of courses to be able to know which ones would actually suit you best with regards to language requirements. So yeah.
Okay. There's also a question on what's the process like for PhD programs? Would you like to respond to that one?
Yeah. So I don't know whether this was the only question. Yeah.
There's another one. What's the process like for PhD programs? He's gone again. I think I'll try one more time, and then when he comes back, we can wrap the session since he's having multiple internet connectivity issues. So we will wait for him to come back, and then he can respond to the question about the process for PhD programs, and we can close the session.
What is the
Welcome
process
back.
like?
Yeah, so
Programs?
I was telling the audience that we can respond to this question and then close the session since you are having connectivity issues.
What's the process like for PhD programs? Okay. So in a general essence, yeah. So I would say that for PhD programs, the process is, I think there are two ways to actually get opportunity through a PhD system. So they usually tend to have scholarships as well, whereby I think also the DAAD also funds PhD programs. So they tend to have a list of programs that actually fall under the PhD stream where one can actually apply. And these are mostly in English, of course, because you do not need to actually do any courses that relate to PhD. So usually the program is just hands-on, where you actually directly move into the PhD and start studying. So these programs are usually in English. And in addition to that, professors also have opportunities for PhD students. And these are usually advertised in different departments or different what you call chairs, whereby you identify a professor who is actually leading a certain chair. And they tend to have PhD programs that they advertise on their websites, and some of them advertise the PhD positions in LinkedIn. And these particular PhD programs would actually be directly applied to through the professor. So you apply directly at the professor, and the professor actually interviews you and admits you for a program that you actually take up as a PhD student. So scholarship basis, you can check out for the DAAD opportunity or DAAD scholarship, as well as check out for different professors in your research interests and directly write to them who actually have funding opportunities for PhD students. And these are usually how you can get a PhD program opportunity there. DAAD scholarship requirements sometimes require that an employer recommends you. What if it's not possible for the employer to assist for whatever reason? That's a very interesting statement, or let us say question. It all boils down to the fact that you need to identify somebody who can actually take you up as a student. So you need to first identify a host, because this is something that is very important when you apply for some of these scholarships in Germany, or the DAAD scholarship to be specific. So you need to first get somebody who can actually take you up as a student, and this is a host. And for you to do that, you need to actually first prepare a concept as to how you are going to execute your research, what you are going to do, and how you are going to actually do it in a nutshell. The person will be able to then decide based on whether their interests and your interests align, and they can actually take you up as a student. If you normally don't do this, it is very difficult to actually get a host who will be able to act as your potential supervisor. So you need to first prepare a concept that can be convincing enough to get them to pick you as a student. And this concept is usually very short, a maximum of 2 pages or less. And if you write it very well, you can actually get a supervisor who is actually ready to supervise you, and let alone help you to get the DAAD scholarship and meet the requirements that are needed.
Okay. I think we'll go to the last question before we have an interruption again. What final advice do you have for the applicants?
Do not give up. This is one key aspect. I'm one person who never gives up on anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You are looking for funding opportunities in Europe or wherever in the world. You need to just have a persistent and perseverant mindset, first of all. Like I said, you'll be writing to different professors, many of which will reject your application, not because they don't like you or they don't want you, but maybe because they don't have funding opportunities at that time. But the whole essence in doing this is for you to eventually get something, or get an opportunity for you to be funded for a master's or a PhD position in Europe or in the US or wherever it may be. So I would say that just be perseverant, persevere so much that you eventually get tired to a point, and you rise up again and you still persevere. So it's like you are actually fighting a battle that it's you can either get it or you don't get it. When you don't get it again, you still don't give up. You still persevere to eventually get the the goal or the target that you want to meet. So I'd say that if you are looking for these kind of funding opportunities, they are always there. It's just for you to sit down and invest the time, because time is very important. You need to just invest it and sit down and really thoroughly look through into so many of these opportunities. Some of them are clearly stated as scholarship opportunities. Some of them come as professor funded opportunities that one needs to sit down and actually identify step by step, going through different universities in different provinces or different districts in these countries, where you can eventually get an opportunity to study either in Germany or in Czech Republic or wherever in the world.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ndiye, for your time, Dr. Ndiye. Despite the constant internet interruptions, I did get valuable information from you, and I hope you, as a viewer, as our audience, you got valuable information too, to help you with your applications. One thing that stood out to me is that he sent 200 emails to professors. And he did say that you need to invest a lot of time on it. So it's not an easy process. You need to invest time. You need to do all the dirty work. You need to do all the groundwork in order to get that opportunity that you are looking for. There's one more question, dear, if you don't mind. I had skipped the question, I think. Hello, can we talk about how life is like in Czech Republic, culture shocks, their philosophy in life, their values? Just try to paint a picture for how is life like there as an international student.
Of course, you will be very shocked in so many ways, depending on where you come from. You'll be shocked by the foods there, but in all these things, I would say that if your purpose and your goals are set clearly, that I would give an example of myself, because I remember my goals and my desires were actually to get an A4 paper, written my name, and written the highest qualification one can get as a student. So this was just my direct goals, to say that, you know what, it doesn't matter whether I'll experience cultural shock based on different things that I face there. But the thing is that I'm actually going there to get a certificate with my name in it. So I tried as much as possible to find solutions to all these things while I'm there, because it is always helpful to also research about the place that you are actually trying to apply to, so that you also get insights that can also help you to curb or to actually approach these particular places with an insight or a background information that would help you later. So I would say that different things you will encounter there while you are there, but in all these things, your goal should be set clear, that you really need the qualification that you desire. And while you are there, the opportunity to work hard should be something that is a priority for you, because you need to be there having this high desire to actually excel, because in most instances, people actually value excellence. It doesn't matter whether somebody's coming from a different country or you come from this other place, people will always see excellence. And it is it is excellence that can actually change somebody's else mindset about you. And in all these things, I'll say that you need to just do some little homework about the places that you are targeting, and also just prepare well in advance for some of the things that may be coming through. For instance, if the shocks may be about food, you may actually arrive there and buy the normal food that you are used to and prepare your own meals. You don't need to actually be engaged in trying to eat the meals that they prepare, because maybe you might not like them, or they may not be as pleasant as you want them. But in all these things, there's some solution to resolve some differences or some various factors that may come in place that may actually constitute change that you may not be used to. So I'll say that the whole essence of it is to also open up your mind and also be able to allow yourself to learn from others too, to learn their culture, to learn their ways of life, and also find a way to also impact their lives as well, because this is also something that is your duty, and it is also an opportunity for you to nurture somebody's behavior and improve their life as well. This is something that we are called, all of us, to do, and it's an opportunity for each and every one of us to actually exercise and practice to impact each other's lives, in whichever way it may be.
Wow, so profound. You spoke like a professor, you spoke like a doctor. Thank you so much, Dr. Ndiye. I think we are going to
Thank you.
close the session. Thank you so much for your time. And I wish you all the best
You're
with
welcome.
your applications, all the PhD applicants and master's applicants. I wish you all the best with your applications. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.